Hello and welcome back to Elden Ring. This is part 22 of the run where we prepare for the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. Now, in this run, we will go through every weapon, shield, armor set, talisman, spirit ash, physic tier, and cookbook that you will need no matter what build you're creating. And last time, we went through the capital outskirts. This entire section immediately surrounding Leyndell. And we ended off here, right after the capital rampart site of grace. And that's where we're starting this part. And moving just ahead, you get this picturesque scene where you get your first super close view of the Erdtree, and here you get your first site of grace properly inside of Leyndell, where you can talk to Melina.
My art for bringing me here, and thus I shall depart. Farewell. I shall leave Torrent, and the power to turn runes into strength. I wish you luck in realizing your ambition. You have fought, I have no doubt.
And with that, she leaves your company, disappearing, and while we're here, you can see there's Bach, so we can talk to them.
Could just you help, please? Allow me to... I'm happy. Master, I was the urge. I know it. Master, do you ever... I don't know. I am your... Oh, please.
If you don't remember, he can take the capes off of your chest pieces, mostly. Now, last time, for the goodies that we got the Golden Epitaph, Ordovis' Great Sword, Onyx Lord's Great Sword, Giant Crusher, Dragon Great Claw, the Golden Order Seal, we got Sentry's Torch, the Distinguished Great Shield, Dragon Claw Shield, Prophet Set, Tree Sentinel Set, Crucible Axe Set, the Upper Class Set, and in terms of talismans, we really didn't get anything, though we might get a few here. We'll just have to see. Moving on, here you get a beautiful view of the city itself, and we can start making our way down. Now, heading up, this enemy right here drops a certain weapon. It is a Great Hammer, and as much as people smack talk holy damage, it is an incredible weapon that has holy damage. Especially when it comes to the skill. Its unique skill is one of the best in the game. And I did a full run with it before. I didn't record it, but I can tell you, it was very, very good. It did struggle, quote-unquote struggle, a little bit near the end, especially against Elden Beast. But not struggle as in I had a hard time, more of struggle in the idea that it wasn't as insanely overpowered. It was still pretty decent. Though, as you can see, a little bit back, we got a smithing stone 4. And here we can just continue making our way through the enemies. And up here you can easily get behind this enemy who is spewing fire for a very easy kill. Now here you can either drop down onto the rooftops, or you can head this way and take this elevator down. Which way you go with is up to you. I'm going to be taking the elevator down as it's a bit more simple and straightforward and is more of the quote-unquote normal way to go. Though, going the normal way isn't how I typically operate. So, as you can see on the other side of the room, there is a doorway you can head through. That's the way you're quote-unquote supposed to go. Though I'm going to be heading up the ladder, where here you can get a perfume bottle. And then up these stairs, you can get an item that may be new or may not be new, the Seedbed Curse. This is a key item that you need for a certain NPC quest. Then we can head out and fight some more enemies. And heading over here, you can get the upper class robe. This was something that we purchased from a merchant in the previous part. So you can get it here for free. And there, as you can see, there was a rooftop, and you could jump onto that, and that would allow you to head back through the main path. Or you can drop onto this rooftop, and as you can see, that's the continuation of the main path. Though, as I said before, not something that you strictly have to follow. So here, the music is beautiful, but we are going to prioritize this smithing stone 6. Now, this is the continuation of the normal path. You can go either of those two ways, though I'm going to be heading back, as that way just isn't worth it in my eyes, as there are more difficult combat encounters there, and less rewards, and you can come back there anyways. Heading across these rooftops, you can loop back around. But if you go the normal way, you miss out on all the loot on these rooftops. Like the smithing stone 5. And some of these jumps are a bit scary, so do be careful. And as you can see there, you do need to do a little bit of trickery in that one spot to actually make it, which I typically do by jumping and then in midair holding the run button. So some people pause the game and then hold the run button, which unpauses the game. And here, you can drop down and you can head towards the main path, or you can teleport back, or you can just not miss the jump. All of those work. Though, here there's a stone sword key, Though, that's not all on this rooftop path. See, if you jump back to these two houses connected by the ash or sand, whatever you think it is, you can get a smithing stone 6 and a Leyndell knight. And these Leyndell knights are very good, as they can drop the knight sword and the gilded great shield, both of which are very good. I actually have the golden great shield, which, as you can see, has really good stats. I mean, defensively, in terms of damage negation, it has at least 57 of everything, and it has 70 guard boost. One of the best in the game. Now, it is a bit weighty, but if you can handle that weight, it's an incredible shield. And here, you get Imped Corpse, which raises your faith stat by 2 levels. And this area is where we fell down. And if you're willing to forego some of those items, if you did fall down, then like I said, you can just move on to this giant main road. Which there was a door just behind us. We're gonna say that for a later part. For now, we can head up here to the right and take another right towards these 2 fires and past that crucible knight enemy, where you can take this elevator up, and this is going to bring you up to a shortcut. As you can see here, brings you back to the overlook of the city that came directly after the first Site of Grace. So, this is a very good shortcut that can save you a decent bit of time if you die, or want to move on back through the area. Now here, you definitely don't have to fight this Crucible Knight, because they don't drop anything outside of runes. Though, they are protecting a Hero's Rune 3, which is pretty good. Now you can go down the main road, or you can take this elevator down. And I'm going to be going down the main road in a bit, but we can head down here first. And we're going to head across the rooftops, because there's 2 items here. The first is the black bow, which for some reason showed up in the straight sword section. Don't know why. That was weird. But anyways, it is a dexterity bow with the barrage skill. It's pretty good. It's not overpowered, but if you're looking to do a bow build, it's pretty good. And then here there's a golden rune 12, and there's this section and some stairs leading down to a different section. So since we're already at the end, we can head through here first. Taking out all of those enemies, you get access to a chest with a stone sword key and a ladder that you can head up. Heading through here, there's a door or some stairs up to a Site of Grace. This is a Site of Grace you're going to be seeing a lot. Now we can head back through here and I didn't show it at the time, but if you go to the left of the stairs, instead of going down them, there is an item. Not super important. That's why I didn't pick it up at the time. But if you have an extra 5-10 seconds, it is worth picking up. And then here, there's mostly just a ton of enemies protecting a few items. The first one of note being the Smithing Stone 4. The second one of note being the Stone Sword Key. And those are the two items of note in this section. So we can now head down the stairs. And you should prepare yourself for a fight, because up here is an ulcerated tree spirit. Bringing them down gets you nearly 10,000 runes and a golden seed, along with a smithing stone 6. Though if you've been following this run up to this point, you won't even need the golden seed, as you're already maxed out on flasks. Though there is a cracked pot, and here is another Leyndell Knight, giving you another opportunity to get the golden great shield. Though this one doesn't have the knight's greatsword, instead having a spear. And while I didn't get it here, it is a pretty good spear. And then dropping down into this small sewer section, there's the Guilty Hood. I mostly focus on the important items in this run, and that might not seem too important, but I feel like it fits, because you know what you did. You know you're guilty. Though, continuing on, up here, this is the room with the cracked pot and the Leyndell Knight. And then up this ladder, there's an enemy. And taking them out gets you the Omen Smirk Mask. This is a headpiece that gives you 2 points into the strength stat, and is the final piece of the Omen Killer set. Then there's also a Smithing Stone 6, and a ladder we don't have access to yet. Then heading into here, there is the Leyndell set, and the Deathbed Dress, and a Set of Grace. So, Leyndell's set is one of the most defensive sets in the game, and the Deathbed Dress slowly replenishes the health of nearby allies, acting like a Blessed Do talisman to anyone close to you. And there is a path down there, though we will get to that soon-ish. For now, we are going to head back to the East Capital Rampart side of Grace. This is the one at the very beginning, with Bach and the beautiful view of the city. And from there, we can take the shortcut path through the right, and we can make our way down. Though this time, instead of going down the elevator, we're going to be taking a left up these stairs onto the main pathway. And past this carriage, we can take a left where there will be a Leyndell Knight. This is another opportunity to get the Golden Great Shield, along with the Knight's Great Sword. Again, both of which are very, very good. And continuing on up here, this is the path, or the room where I said this is the way that the main path continues, but in my opinion, it's not worth it, and you can loop back anyways. So if you had followed the main path, you would have ended up here. And here, as you can see, there are some Michelin lilies and another Leyndell Knight, or another opportunity to get their sword and shield. So you can pick those up, and some people get put off by the icon shield not having 100% physical damage negation, and they look at the stats and go, well, other great shields have better defenses. But as you can see, that sword, even with the lightning buff, we ended the fight with full health. So the icon shield, even though it doesn't have the best stats on paper, it still has really good damage negation stats. And on top of that, the HP regeneration more than makes up for any 5% of physical damage that gets through. So it's a very good shield, despite what some people may say. Now here, there's an Erdtree avatar, and bringing them down, you get 10,000 runes and a Lord's rune. And from there, just past that Erdtree avatar, to the right is a doorway and a site of grace. This is the site of grace that we got a little before taking on the ulcerated tree spirit. And don't forget to level up before continuing on if you can. Now there's two ways to go here. You can go forward down to the end of the main path, or you can take this little side section here, heading up some stairs where there's going to be some enemies. Here there's a smithing stone 4, and then you can continue up onto this heightened road section. And here there's a golden rune, and then off to the left there's some more enemies. And one of these gargoyles breathing fire. And as you can see, I got hit, which took a decent chunk of our health. Though, we will get to that in a minute. For now, Somber Stone 5 and some golden runes. And if you look at our health bar, you can see it going up in real time. So, that's just passive HP regeneration. And there's also some active HP regen with this build as well. And there's going to be more active HP regen in the next few upcoming areas. And as you can see, we're already back to full health. Never had to sip a flask of Crimson Tears. So, this is a very good build, defensively speaking, just for keeping yourself alive. Just for not dying, and for limiting the amount of Flask of Crimson Tears that you need to use. So, even though I'm using a sword here, and I put 40 points into strength, you can focus more on intelligence or faith, casting sorceries or incantations, or you can have a weapon that's a bit more unique than the basic longsword, and you can focus on skills. And then you can put some of those flasks into the Flask of Cerulean Tears, because this build takes so little red flasks. So, like I said, this build, at first glance, it might not look super special, but it is very survivable, and that's why I'm using this to head into the DLC. So here, this is a tough fight, so you may want to prepare yourself. But bringing them down, you get a Somber Stone 6, and then free access to a Golden Rune 10 and a Hero's Rune 2. Though that is a dead end, so this fight is entirely optional. So if you're not comfortable fighting those enemies, you can just skip it. Totally fine. Though heading down the stairs, there's a Golden Rune 8 here. And over here, there's an enemy with a horn, and they will get the attention of other enemies, so might want to take them out. And here, those fires show a door, and going down that door brings you back to the Site of Grace again. So hopefully that puts into perspective where we are. And that main pathway with the Erdtree avatar, this is the end of that pathway, if we had just continued following it. Though this door here is closed for now and we cannot open it. So that fight was mostly just for the fight. And here you can go through that doorway, opening section, whatever you want to call it. Or you can head up here. There's a golden rune that I missed. Though, more importantly, you can jump onto this rooftop for a stone sword key. And then you can drop down here. And if you'd followed the pathway in, then you would have ended up here anyways. So, all roads lead to here. And then you can head into this gazebo, which then lets you make your way down into this section. Where we can kick a ladder down And there's an Omen Killer. And here's the Site of Grace, which we've already gotten. So we can now head back to this section. This is right after the cracked pot with the Leyndell Knight. The one right after the ulcerated tree spirit. Now, in most of these, like in most of the parts of this run, I've just been focusing on the easiest way to get all the items, or all the important items. But here, I'm approaching it a bit differently, where I'm still doing that, but I'm also showing the multiple different ways to get to each Site of Grace. Because this area is so interconnected, because there's 2 or 3 ways to get to every single section, place, area, whatever you want to call it. And so, I'm doing the normal thing of this run, of showing the items, but I'm also showing that. And that's partially to help you make your way around Lost Ashes of War. And also Icon Shield is very good. But that's partially to help you find your way around. Partially just as a way of appreciating how amazing this level design is. Because Leyndell is something very, very special. I don't know if FromSoft has ever made a level quite this good. Though, with that being said, we can move on where we get the Erdtree dagger. Now, you've gotten one of these before, but here's a second one. It is a strength, dexterity, faith-based dagger, though notably, it has no holy damage. So, that faith increases the physical damage. And then here, continuing on, there's this, like, 3-lane pathway with several Leyndell Knights, so we can make our way through here. We took a hit from his sword, which was buffed with lightning. But if you look at our health, we're still pretty much full health. And we don't even have as much health as we could have. Because I had originally planned to bring the health stat up to 60. I only have it at 41 right now, so yeah. Though here, Site of Grace, ulcerated tree spirit. So yeah, this is like the 3rd, 4th time that we've hit that Site of Grace. And you can go from that Site of Grace straight into here. So that's 2 different ways to get to this section. And then from here, you can head down or up. I'm going to head up first. And as you can see, there's some gravel stone. And I'm not too focused on the gravel stone, though. Like I said, there is some sprinkled about that you can grab if you want. So continuing on, here there's a rune arc and a ladder heading up. continuing forward and to the left, there is another Leyndell Knight. You can very easily sneak past them because of the crouch feature, though it is another opportunity to get their spear and their shield, which we will take. And then there's a Golden Rune 11 and a Site of Grace. Though before continuing on, we are going to head back. Because, as I said, you can go up or down. So we went up just enough to get the Site of Grace. So that way we don't have to head through the section with the Leyndell Knights again. And now we can head down because it's pretty easy to make your way down. And heading down here and off to the right, there's a Smithing Stone 5. And then here, there's some enemies and a scarab. And this scarab gets you the Ash of War Thunderbolt. This is the lightning attack that the spear enemies were using, in case you're curious. Though here we can head down this well, we can get a rune arc, and then we can make our way through this path. It's just a straightforward line, so very few enemies, no items, so we can skip it for the sake of time. And there we get the pop-up for the subterranean shutting grounds. Now this is a different area, and so for the sake of time, we're not going to be doing this. We are just heading down here to get the Site of Grace for next time. And from there, we can head back to the West Capital Rampart Site of Grace, which is the one we got before. Here we can head out and down these first set of stairs, where you can pick up the Cane Sword. This is a dexterity-based straight sword, and it's mostly just for like flavor text and lore, rather than being a particularly good weapon. Though it is usable. And there, we got a golden rune. And that lever we pulled was for that giant door at the end of the main street section. And then here, there's a Valiant Gargoyle. And killing them gets you a halberd. Definitely not the best halberd. Mainly just killed them to not have to deal with them. And there we got a golden seed. Though again, if you've been following this run up to this point, you shouldn't need it. And then here, there's a Smithing Stone 6. And dropping down, you can head to the left or the right. We're going to be heading left, where there are some dog enemies. Then there's a Golden Rune 9. And heading into here, you should find this place to be familiar. So heading down here, the stairs are broken, so do be careful. Though, there you can get a Smithing Stone 6, the Sanctified Wet Blade, which can be used to put an affinity of a sacred or lightning on your weapon. And then there's hammer, which is a strength dexterity based hammer. And in here, you can get a Hero's Rune 1 and the Gesture by my sword. And I will quickly say that the lightning affinity is commonly mentioned to be the best affinity just in terms of damage. Then heading into here, you get the Coated Sword. This is a pure faith scaling, pure holy damage straight sword with a unique skill. And so if you're someone who invested purely into faith as your only damage stat, then that's a pretty good weapon. Maybe not as your main weapon, but as a speedy, like, self-defense. Especially against, like, rats and basic enemies. Pretty good. And then here, there's another Seedbed Curse, which is the second in this area. And third if you went through the Volcano Manor. And you need 5 total. There is a Smithing Stone 5. And here is Elberich's set for sorcerers. Then there is a Smithing Stone 5. And in here, there's a Set of Grace and a painting. And for the sake of time, I didn't go and get this. But I will say it's near the end of the Windmill Village. Along one of the cliff sides. And it gets you with the incantation Fire's Deadly Sins. And here you get the Two Fingers Prayer Book, which gets you the incantations Lord's Heal and Lord's Aid. And then heading into here, there's a few enemies, and you should be aware as they do have a very deadly pebble attack. It is quite effective. And heading through here, if you got the letter to Bernal from the Volcano Manor, then you can invade Vargrim, and you can get the Raging Wolf armor set, which is a medium armor set with some lore implications. Now, I tend to break armor sets into 3 parts. There's the light armor sets at the top, which are more for looks and lore. There's heavy armor sets, which are for pure defense. And then in the middle, there are these middle sets, which are a combination of the two. And that's where the Raging Wolf set lands. So, not super defensive, but also not super heavy. It's a nice balance between the two. And when we drop down, if you headed to the right, you would end up here. This is the giant door at the end of the main street. And heading this way, there are 2 knights, one having a great bow and one being melee oriented. You can lure the melee one inside of the building to fight him alone, and killing him gets you the Gravel Stone Seal, which is a faith-based sacred seal that boosts Dragon Cult incantations. Dragon Cult incantations typically being known for being lightning-based. And so, if something has lightning, then pretty decent chance that it's a Dragon Cult incantation. And then here, after killing them, Gravelstone, then you get free easy access to make this jump. Though it is a difficult jump, so it may take a few tries. Though once you land it, you are rewarded with a smithing stone 6 and a stone sword key. From there, you can head back into the building. Where there's this door off to the right that starts off being closed. And you can open that up and then make your way through. And there are 2 of these pendulum enemies. So if you want to kill them, you can, or you can run past them. And here you can get the Stormhawk axe, which we will take a look at once we are safely away from the enemies. For now, turning this corner, there's a Somber Stone 6. And then heading off of this way, there is a giant lift that you can take. And with the safety of this, we can check the Stormhawk axe, a strength dexterity based axe with a unique skill notably used by Nefeli Lu. And then from there, we can head up here, and this place may look familiar. This is where we got the Blessed Dew Talisman way back in part 2 with Weeping Peninsula. So if you didn't get it there, you can get it here. And if you've been copying my build, you may have noticed I put 40 points into strength and then just stopped and started leveling faith. And I never said why. Well, this is why. Wrath of Gold, which is a very good incantation. And it's not all we're going to use, but it is one of the main incantations we're going to use. And if that's not your style, if you want to focus more on melee, then you can just stop at 12 faith, because Beast Shield Vitality, again, very good, and Flame Cleanse Me, very good. Very much worth 2 or 3 levels. And the rest you can put into health and stamina and strength. From there, as you can see, you could go up there, up the roots, or you can take this path towards these duelists, which, heading up and defeating them, gets you the Ritual Shield Talisman, boosting your defense when your HP is full. So,
whatever is the matter, please, I implore you, continue. Continue your reflections, your rhythms. I must be the one to record them. What matters this issue of Radigan, really? The Erdtree, heart of the Golden Order, lies before our very eyes. Why must these qualms come to you now? We were on the very cusp.
So, there we picked up the Star Fist, which is a strength-based fist with blood loss buildup. And here, we have Gold Mask and Corrin.
Oh, I'm a little shaky. The master, well, until he simply now the master, the golden, the name of who, the master, his finger, curse my master.
And for him, you need to get a certain incantation and use it in a certain location in order to continue on his quest. And I won't do it, though I will point out where it is when we pass it, and I will give some tips. Mostly on the next part at the very beginning. But there is some stuff you can do. Because that incantation requires 37 intelligence. But you can have like helmets, talismans, physic gears, other whatnots to really lower that requirement. And you might be surprised just how much you can lower that requirement. If you started as a vagabond like me, don't worry, I got you next time. So here we got the Guardian Sword Spear, a dexterity-based halberd with a unique moveset. And that is a random chance drop. And then heading up at the top of the roots, there's Godfrey, First Elden Lord. And taking him out gets you 80,000 runes and a talisman pouch. And a set of grace. Now, that talisman pouch is your fourth and final one. If getting that one only gets you 3, go take out Margit in Stormvale Castle, or go talk to Enya, depending on which one you haven't done, because that's where you get the other 2. Now heading down here, this is where you need to use the incantation. I will also show where to get the incantation in a few minutes. And again, in the very beginning of the next part is where I'm going to show how to drastically lower those requirements. As I said, if you start as a vagabond, which has, I believe, 9 intelligence, then you're good. You don't need to put any levels into intelligence. Might sound crazy, but trust me. So here, there's a Crucible Knight. Taking them out doesn't get you any reward, though there is this invisible scarab hiding behind them. And killing them does get you easy access to it, which gets you Barrier of Gold, which is an incantation that greatly increases magic damage negation. Though that's not why we're here. We're here to take this jump down so we can head up this giant bolt. This gets you the Bolt of Grandsax. And I'm gonna quickly teleport out because there are enemies down there that will aggro onto you. Though, we can now look at it. It is a strength dexterity based spear with physical and lightning damage and a unique, pretty powerful skill. It is also one of the legendary armaments. So, pretty good weapon. And here, you can go up the route, or if you're someone who likes to use consumable items, then over here, there are 6 holy grease. And it is a tiny bit out of the way, but it only takes like 10 seconds, maybe 20 tops, to run over there. So, not a big deal at all. But heading over here, you can take a left, where you can then drop down this pathway. And here, there's a chest holding the Erdtree bow. Now, the black bow used to be on the straight sword section. Now it's not. Don't know why that fixed itself. Anyways, the Erdtree bow is a faith-based bow. So, if you're a faith build and you want to use a bow, there you go. Though, that's not why we're here. We are here because this is the Golden Order Principia, which can be used to learn Radagon's Rings of Light and Law of Regression. Law of Regression being the incantation you needed to use somewhere over here on the map for Corrin's quest. Again, you can do that on your own. At the very beginning of the next part, I'll be showing how to do that with basically no intelligence. Though, continuing on, there's a black knife. We can take them out. We're here. We can get Blessing of the Erdtree and a Site of Grace. Blessing of the Erdtree being an incantation that grants a greater blessing or HP regeneration, like the Icon Shield and Blessed Dew Talisman. Though it is more potent, but it also has a faith requirement and it costs FP, so there's a trade-off there. And then coming up here at the top of these stairs, you can summon Melina without her cape. And you may want to prepare because this boss is kind of a combo maniac.
The thrones, stained by my curse, such shedding they cannot bear. Thy part in this shall not be forgiven.
Though defeating him gets you 120,000 runes, Morgoth's Great Rune, and a Remembrance of the Omen King. And then here, you can touch that, and his Remembrance gets you a Dexterity Arcane Scaling Great Curve Sword with Blood Loss buildup, and a unique and powerful skill. It's pretty good. It's somewhat popular. Though sitting down, we get Melina back.
Hello. Allow me. You were unable, prevented the thorns. A husk, the only way to become my purpose. So I'd like to the flame then and guide.
And she gives you the rolled medallion for free. And that's about it. That's pretty much everything here in Leyndell. There's still the underground section, though for the sake of time, that'll be its own part. For now, we got the Erdsteel Dagger, the Cane Sword, the Coated Sword, Stormhawk Axe, Hammer, Bolt of Grandsax, Guardian Sword Spear, Starfist, Black Bow, Erdtree Bow, Gravel Stone Seal, the Golden Great Shield. We got Elbrich's set, the Deathbed Dress, Upper Class Robe, Raging Wolf set, Lionel's set. We got the fourth and final Talisman slot. We got Blessing of the Erdtree. And since we took out the Raging Wolf and Vargram and the Errant Sorcerer Willem, we can do that. First, this whole spiel that I've gone through, you should know it by now. But here is Bernal.
I have the room. Take it.
That gets you Gelmir's Fury.
Used to.
And once again, you can get any of these you want. Though, with that being said, hope you enjoyed this, and yeah.